Hello and welcome back to the West Ham rebuild, and it's quite fair to say at this point we've rebuilt it mostly. Still not perfect though. It was a busy summer window and there is a very surprising out. And I really hope I can explain why I did it. Yeah, I'll just let this one sit for a second. You might be able to work out the reason once you see the section of the table that says last transfer fee. Yeah, we effectively got Grealish money for Jared Bowen from Newcastle, who have been a perennial problem across both my saves this year so far, just because they buy everyone you want to buy. And as a Newcastle fan, it is intensely irritating. But yeah, we sold him for 94 million after he scored 12 goals and 10 assists last year in 5 player of the matches. He has done terribly for Newcastle, as he should do. That's your fault, Jared. That's what you get for kicking up a fuss about not being able to go somewhere. Initially, he was annoyed he couldn't go to Manchester City, but Newcastle outbid them. So, haha. Pablo Fornals I sold for 21 million to Leicester City. I'll be honest, I actually quite like Pablo Fornals in Football Manager. He's not awful. Physically, I would like more, quite frankly, from a winger. But as a squad player, he's not awful. The issue was he wasn't on squad player wages, and that's why he went. He was on 80 grand a week. I love his model citizen because you could sort of mentor that, but that's not what this save's about. As a long-term project, you'd probably keep him around for the mentoring purposes. But on a short-term rebuild, he's gone. He's actually being paid less at Leicester, which is quite funny. Ben Rama was in a similar boat. He was on, I think, 70 grand a week, and he's behind Fornals in the pecking order. And with Sheldrock coming in being the first choice, down he goes. 20 million, sort of again. Thilo Kehrer went for 7 million, down the pecking order. He's gone to Wolfsburg. There's a pattern emerging here, and that's effectively that I've gotten rid of everyone that West Ham signed in real life in the real life transfer window this summer. Masuaku, of all people, was the person involved in a bidding war, which I managed to get up to £7 million, and he went to Genk. Yeah, that bidding war started at 2 million. I have genuinely no idea how I got 7 million for him, but thank you, Football Manager. The faithful servant that is Mikel Antonio went for 4 million to Almeria. Flynn Downs for 3.5 million just because he doesn't really have a future here. Putting this one down to Football Manager not rating a player possibly with more potential than they probably ought to have. But his potential ability was 3 stars, and we already have people who are squad players that are better than that and are homegrown now. Finally ditched Areola, did have to pay some wages to his sale, but £3 million. Fabianski went as well. Wasn't as keen on this one going because he was so good last year. This request came in first, so I sold him first. And poor old Gerd got sold for 2.3 million purely because he is trash in the game. I feel really sorry for him. He should be so much better. Oh, and Emerson's on a loan to buy for like 23 million or something ridiculous as that. Let me double check. It's a mandatory future fee of 15 million, it says there. It's more than that. There are clauses that go on top of that. But inbound, free agent transfers. Altay Bayandir is actually back up. We'll get to that one eventually. I kind of brought him in to be first choice, but then decided could do better. Jonathan Bamba, I think we already talked about him. He was coming at the end on a free. He basically replaces Ben Rama and Fornals and all that, which is why they all moved on. So bring in someone for nothing and sell 2 of those players for £41 million combined, not bad transferring. And I'll be honest, Antonin Barak was just me. He wasn't necessary, but he was available on a free, and he is worth about 20 million. I like Barak. We've had him before on this channel. I dislike him. And then the confusing one that is Wesley Hood, who is now only regarded as 2 stars, and I don't know why. I just want to compare the 2 people that were regarded as 2 stars in this squad. On the right is a Gerd, who is 2 stars and we sold for 2.3. On the left is Wesley Hood, who we bought for 3.5 million and is on half the wages that a Gerd was, possibly even less than. Both left-footed, both in that backup left centre-back role, and I do not know why Hood is 2 stars. He is better almost everything except acceleration and a couple of the mentals, and long throws, as if that matters. Belotti, £4 million up front, replaces Antonio in the pecking order, but he is a very good pressing forward, all things considered. Again, I think he's been mugged off in the star ratings here. Some of the technicals are obviously very lacking, but mentally, physically, quite nice. The replacement for Fabianski, realistically, in the end, has been Alex Merritt, 11.5 million total. That's not all up front, of course. Quite frankly, just wanted to see how good Merritt was this year, because he was sensational in previous FMs. So, kind of wanted to see if he'd do more than the same. I've managed to get his vision up from a 6 to a 7 already through training. Just bought Rutter, because I could. £12 million up front. He's 2 stars right now. Does have 5-star potential. He's 3rd choice. Can fill in on the right if necessary. But if we take injuries to a striker or the right winger, then he sort of slips straight onto that bench as their replacement. I do suspect I might stifle his progress. Todibo is in for 22 million, all things considered. Less up front, actually. Only £16 million up front. He's already developed into a 4-star defender. in the half a season that he's played. I love him. He's very good. He's 6'3". He has 17 jumping reach. He's fantastic. But yes, he goes ahead of Sole. We brought Sole in last January. I figured we could do even better. He very much replaces Zuma now for way less. We bought Sole and Todibo for the less than what we sold Zuma to Newcastle for. Nicolas Gonzalez was brought in initially to play backup to Jarrod Bowen, and then Jarrod Bowen left. Solid 3-star person on that right-hand side with a left foot. Can cover left-hand side and can cover striker if necessary. He's quite good, quite frankly. £18 million up front. Luca Netz was an odd one. I didn't really go into the window trying to buy Luca Netz. This was a deadline day. Not panic, but just opportunity. Because we brought in Tyrick Mitchell, who I now realise I haven't mentioned because he would have been pre-arranged and on last year's list of transfers. But Tyrick Mitchell's in a left-back to replace the ageing Aaron Cresswell and the not-that-good Emerson. But I was marginally concerned that Cresswell was about to collapse as a human being physically. So I figured, let's get a young person in to maybe develop here over the couple of years that we are going to continue with this. And he is fantastic. Very respectable, 20 million. Similarly, Caicedo, who in real life is getting into the 70 million ballpark with this transfer window, was available for 19.5 million. Has potential. Figured might as well. Counts as homegrown nation because of Brighton. So thank you, Brighton. And lastly but not leastly, another player who's moved in the transfer window in real life, but not to Chelsea here, is Noni Madueke. Replaces Bowen because he's English and homegrown as well, so fills exactly the same role that Bowen left. Obviously the injury prone is an issue there. I dare say so far this season he is paying us back already. 11 starts in total, 6 goals in total, ignore just the Premier League ones up there, but 6 goals in 11 starts and 4 assists. 7.45 is his average rating in all the games played. 40.5 million, it was a release fee if I remember rightly. And yeah, Riddlebacker was the only pre-arranged transfer from last season for this season. He is still technically the starter on that left-hand side of defence for now. But you can see, obviously, as always, as I've mentioned, we'll be doing this checking in at the end of December and at the end of the season for these 2 seasons. I might shift to just doing the last season all in one go, or we'll leave it as 6 parts total. Not sure yet. But you may have intimated from the average ratings that we're doing okay. I have brought you back on Boxing Day for us to play Manchester City. So it's not quite the end of December, but there's a reason for it. Because Manchester City, 44 points after 18 games. West Ham United, 41 points from 18 games. Yes, just the 3 points differing. We've lost 1 game. Liverpool haven't lost a game, but they have drawn 9. So that's fun for them. 9 wins, 9 draws, no losses. Unbeaten season. Not gonna lie, I would love them to have a less impressive unbeaten season than Arsenal. But this is the situation, of course. If we win this game against Manchester City away from home, unlikely, let's be real, we would join them on 44 points. And depending on the scoreline, could swing the goal difference because we're not doing too shabbily in that respect. Aston Villa have 14 goal difference. Okay, not bad from them. But you can also see my dilemma, really, for left-back, because on paper, Tyrick Mitchell is slightly better. Luca Netz has the second highest average rating of anyone in this division. Anyone. Madueke is 6th, Caicedo is 7th. He's only started 2 games, so not quite sure how he snuck onto this list. 8 sub-appearances probably bumped that up. But Skamaka, Souček, Merritt as a goalkeeper is on this list, along with Declan Rice in 19th. So, yeah, quite populated this list with West Ham players. Only 2 goalkeepers made this list, and the other one is Martinez of Aston Villa. It's fair to say Merritt is doing quite well. 8 conceded in 13 appearances, 7 clean sheets out of 13. He's had 9 clean sheets in 18 appearances total. It's not gone too badly. We should pop over to schedule just so I can show you the fact that we have qualified out of our Champions League group stages. Top. We did lose away at Atletico Madrid after being 2-0 up. We did end up losing that one 3-2, where Atletico Madrid scored all 3 of their shots on target. It was probably the one game that Merritt did badly in. The Jan Oblak own goal isn't really an own goal. He just sort of punched it into his own goal from a Souček header. It's more of a failed save than an own goal, but it's gone down as one for some reason. But recent highlights include Man United 4-3 away from home. I have to show you this one because there is a rivalry between West Ham and Man United. Man United were 3-1 up, and then we scored in the 81st, 82nd, and 87th minute. Also demolished quite handily. Arsenal 4-0. Spurs away 2-1 in the EFL Cup 4th round before Leeds beat us. Yeah, one kind of weird bad result. And Crystal Palace beat us recently as well. That's the only loss we've had all season in the league is Crystal Palace away from home. Because of course it is. A 5-0 trouncing of Spurs will certainly have buoyed spirits this December. Yeah, you may have just spotted him on the score sheet there in this 5-0 trouncing, but Alex Scott keeps scoring in every game I bring him on in. But I'm also a big fan of how Skamaka keeps scoring wonderful goals of late. This is a playthrough from shoulder. The ball's fantastic and then slams it. Great. Fantastic work. But I mention it because this one is the winner. That's Caicedo finding Skamaka on the left. Bam! In the goal. Lovely work. But it's the Gonzalez goal in the 4-0 beating of Arsenal that is my goal of the season so far. What a finish that is. Shades of Almiron in it, which is a sentence I was never expecting to say. But if you paid attention to Almiron this season, you know what goal I'm talking about here. Dinked over top by Johnson. First time, left foot, on the right-hand side, tight angle, straight in the goal. Superb. The good news is for die-hard West Ham fans, we have thoroughly beaten local rivals of London quite systematically this season. Actually, Arsenal 4-0, Spurs 5-0 in there. We beat Chelsea very early on 1-0 as well. So, yeah, not going too bad in London, just Leeds being a weirdly odd problem here, 0-0 in the league and losing in the quarterfinals. And Crystal Palace, yeah, the one London team that did get our number. And continued to be quite good without Vieira. Should mention that. He moved to Arsenal to continue the former Arsenal legends as managers. Speaking of Aaron, he scored for Leeds in the early kickoff today. I genuinely didn't know he'd moved to Leeds. But they beat Middlesbrough 3-1. But I think that was actually an important game for Leeds because I think both them and Middlesbrough are in the bottom three currently. Gonzalez is injured and Madueke is just returning from injury. So that's fun news for the bench. So as mentioned, Rutter will make the bench in that situation. We have played reasonably recently, so I am going to have to risk Declan Rice in this particular one. It confuses me that Kieran Dewsbury Hall is a better midfielder than Lucas Paqueta. And in case you think I'm going crazy, I have to move out of the way to show you it. But yeah, Paqueta, 3 stars, Dewsbury Hall, 3.5. It might be English. It might be the English factor in that one, but he's weirdly good and has developed, in fairness, in the time here. But it is kind of worth mentioning those players we brought in that have developed because Scott has developed, but the squad's developed around him, so he's remaining at 2.5 stars, but everything's going up, and he is listed as a wonder kid now. The lineup would be Merritt in goal, Nets, Todibo, Sole, Salzu is injured, Baka at right back, Souček, Rice, Dewsbury Hall, shoulder up, Madueke, Skamaka up front. I now realise I don't have a defender on the bench. A central defender. Oh no, I know what's about to happen. They've taken Haaland out of their team. What are they doing? This is first v second. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've put Foden, De Bruyne, Silva, Rodri, Frimpong, Laporte and Diaz on. So it looks like they second stringed apart from Haaland in the previous game, and one of Fatty, Grealish and Foden is the striker today. Okay, hilariously, Cancelo's on the bench. It is Foden that has striking duties. But yeah, it is great that this West Ham defence has Sole as a rotation choice. As Rice goes clear very early on there, actually. Like, oh, Salzu's injured. Right, let's bring Sole into the lineup. It's not a bad position to be in. And that's kind of the position we're in now as a squad. Pretty much every position has a player that I'm not angry or annoyed that has to play because, I'm sorry, is Sheldon being sent off because he's just tapped a player very lightly on the foot? You're actually kidding me there. I'm not even, I mean, it's a foul. Sure, he's tapped him on the shin. But it's not a sending off, is it? It's not even a card full stop, let alone a second yellow. I'd love to see what the first yellow was for. I mean, quite frankly, there's not really a lot I can do here. We'll just switch Dewsbury Hall to a Mazzala and move on, I think. I'll be honest, there's a lot of yellow cards this season, but there was a lot of yellow cards last season. I was inspired recently by someone who said that get stuck in on a high-pressing formation already doesn't actually make any difference for red cards, as long as you sort of just monitor the yellows. For the love of God. Not a lot you can do about 2 yellows in the first 20 minutes, though, in that respect, in terms of monitoring yellows. Whose fault is this? It's Soleil's fault, isn't it? What are you doing, Sole? What is that decision-making? What is that decision-making? Pass back to the goalkeeper or pass to the person on your right. Don't pass to the person where there's someone sort of vaguely in the middle of. Rice gets the ball off De Bruyne, but doesn't actually get possession. Tackles him a second time very successfully, but still doesn't get the possession, and the ball goes over the Luca nets, and I think it's hit Todibo on the way over. But of course, part of the problem with putting Get Stuck in on this particular version of the formation, even though it's high pressing to begin with, and even though we were getting yellow cards quite frequently before putting Get Stuck in the games you play live, I've not really noticed much difference. But there have been, because I'm not playing every single game, I am simulating some of them just to get through. You see, look, there was only 2 bookings in general. I mean, technically 3. Oh, it was literally 2 bookings in 2 minutes. Yeah, so there was nothing I could do in that situation. Like, if it was second half, 60 minutes, take them off, fine. But I think there's only been 1 game this season where we were fined for yellow cards, and that was the Arsenal match, which we won 4-0 anyway, but there were 6 bookings. What is going on? Baku finds Madueke, though, as Frimpong, I thought, was about to give us a penalty. Rice ends up on the end of this ball. more hilarious occurs in terms of match engine bit tackles and things like that, and it nearly goes in. Not gonna lie, this hasn't been the greatest advertisement for the match engine. Sorry, Sports Interactive. As I think on about 3 separate occasions we've had a situation where there's been about 3 players, 4 players, just stood near each other, just tackling each other for about 30 seconds. Which of course is exactly what happens in real football. But it looks like Man City are doing Man City things as, gonna have to work out why Baku's there, and also why Soleil didn't then decide to do anything that resembled a tackle. I mean, Man City on top, they do have an extra man at this stage, so it's somewhat inevitable. But I kind of want, sending off that early, sorry, Man City acquired Darwin Nunez, or Nunch. De Bruyne scores a free kick. I'll be honest, the goals we've conceded, that one, sure, it's a free kick, but the first one obviously was a gift. We've not really conceded a normal goal here. Set piece and a gift. It's not like they've just sort of passed their way through us yet. But now we're on 70 minutes, we'll actually make the formation change that I'd like to make when this situation happens. So Madueke off for Belotti. Switch both midfielders to Mazzalas. Get Dewsbury Hall off anyway, just because he's knackered. Get Caicedo on. Luca Netz is tired, so Mitchell on. Baku finds Rice, who immediately gives it to Mikel Merino. I'm so glad my players have eyes. Foden. Not the best advertisement also of how good our team is. Yeah, I mean, I do love how I spent the first part of this video just hyping up this team and then it immediately just doing the exact opposite in the game that we've played, as Baku, I think, has just been injured because he's suddenly not functioning at all. I might need to take Rice off as well for Scott, who some reason came on at right back anyway there, so just doing things I don't particularly enjoy. Oh, Souček's booked as well. He's been sent off already this season. I do realise we're on 89th minute and this is largely irrelevant, but can we just stop just giving the ball away? Where's Baku this time? Because he's not off the pitch yet. Is that him here? What are you doing there, Riddle? We didn't have possession, as Foden misses basically an open goal. I dread to think how this game would have gone if they'd had Haaland. I'll be honest, I wish I could debate that red card. I love the fact that you can debate straight reds, but not double yellows. So there's the table after that. Liverpool game in hand now, of course, but 5 points behind. Does kind of make me feel like that the title's not quite on this season, but for a 3-season rebuild, I think it might be doable. Still in Champions League, of course. Might be some more magic to come, but that's it for this particular part. If you've enjoyed this, do give it a like, do give it a comment, do give it a subscribe if you've not done that bit already as well. So I'll see you very soon for the completion of Season 2 and how we get on for the remainder of the season. Thank you for joining me. Ta-ra.